So welcome to the third BAFF Talks session. And today's topic is arts and design. And my name is Ilza Pembere. I represent Baltic-American Freedom Foundation and scholarship programs in Latvia. And you can see on the screen my colleagues, Eva Kauba, who represents BAFF programs in Estonia, and Ingrida Laurinavičiene, who represents BAFF programs in Lithuania. Yes, and today we'll listen to three amazing ladies who will share their interesting experiences in different fields of arts. So I guess it will be fashion, design, research, arts conservation, restoration, so many diverse areas of arts. And all three ladies were awarded also a BAFF scholarship to gain professional experience in the United States. So probably we will hear a short insight into that period of their lives as well. And before we start our session, I would like to give a floor to our BAFF Alumni Council member, Lina Karkliņa, for a few welcoming words. Lina, would you like to say a few words?
Hi, everybody. So yes, my name is Lina and I represent the Baltic-American Freedom Foundation alumni community by serving the council. Very shortly, our community is something that our program participants experience when they join the BAFF scholarship programs, and then when they return, we try to keep together and to help each other out during our career development. So I'm very happy to join this event tonight as well. I think arts and design is something that really keeps up the spirits in these times as well. So it's good for a change, not to think about politics or medical issues, but to really dig into something that we are that is more close to the soul. So I think the stories that we'll hear tonight from Marie, Cynthia, and Julia will showcase some of our alumni experiences furthering their career development in the United States. And I hope the insights will be useful and inspirational to you too in your future development. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Lina. And I think now we are ready. And before we start with the presentations, I will just quickly remind you how we do it technically. So first we will listen to all three presentations, and then the floor will be open for questions and discussions. And please type in your questions in a chat box already during the presentations, and then we will be addressing them to the speakers at the end. So I think now we are ready to listen to our first speaker. Marie, the floor is yours, and we can maybe share the screen and then put the presentation on. And you are muted, so please unmute yourself first.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now it's
wonderful. Hi, hello everybody. My name is Marie. I'm calling from Estonia. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm shortly gonna talk about my career and how Baltic-American Freedom Foundation helped me pursue it professionally. So as mentioned, my name is Maria Vihmer. And I am a designer and material researcher. Well, currently I am on a maternity leave, so if you hear some baby noises in the background, it's my baby. So I did a BAFF professional internship program in 2018 in New York City. And I was placed in Brooklyn Fashion Design Accelerator, shortly BFTA. So how I ended up there, or how I developed my path. I started my education doing a BA in conservation of artifacts and cultural heritage. I specialized more in depth into textiles. I was really interested in how textiles are composed and made. And then I did my master's degree in textile design in Tallinn, in Estonian Academy of Arts, both degrees. And I'm starting my PhD in September next year in material science, further investigating textiles and materials. So during my MA studies, I was really fascinated by the world of wearable technology, smart textiles, interactive textiles. However, at the time, it wasn't always very sustainable because integrating technology into materials or textiles usually composes quite complicated system from different parts, and it's very difficult very often to take them apart.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I have a comment that you have slides to share with us. Is it
Can't
right?
you see it?
No, I'm sorry, we can't see it. That's why I'm,
Sorry, you can only see me.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just need to push this share screen button.
Yeah, we just did it before.
Yeah, we tested,
Now
so
it's
all good.
and
But it's okay
thank
because
you.
the intro was done, and I think it's.
Yeah, thank you for saying.
It's all good. Yeah. And may
I'm
I
sorry.
ask you to put slideshow on?
Yeah,
So that,
does it show now?
yeah.
Yes,
now
perfect. And
Thank you.
perfect place as well from where to start. So
Yeah,
good, all good,
All good.
perfect, good. Yeah.
So yeah, this is actually the almost the first slide. Anyway, I during my MA studies, I was focusing on smart materials. However, I really became interested in natural smart materials, the materials found from nature that also have superpowers, so to say. And I ended up researching on silks, different kind of silks, spider silk and silkworm silk. And the photos you can see from the slides are from my from the practical part of the thesis. They are restructures of silk fibrine, silk protein that could be so morphologically formed into either films or foams. So I was always also really interested in working together with scientists, and the whole concept of interdisciplinary collaboration has been very intriguing to me. So that's why also my PhD will be, I hope it will be in collaboration with scientists and really how to explore the whole field, composing the best of arts and technology. So now I'm going to talk shortly about the BAFF professional internship program, because I think it really helped me to formulate my career, or really kind of made me much more confident in myself. I did my internship in Brooklyn Fashion Design Accelerator with under the supervision of Tara St. James. She is an amazing designer and sustainable fashion and design enthusiast. The BFDA was ethical hub for sustainable businesses, small scale startups, and also they had a small scale production room which had amazing knitting machines and also a cut and sew production facility. And they also sustainable resource library, and I was placed there, and I was still continuing my research on sustainable materials. So basically my work was to go through the samples they already had gathered and to look for new innovations. And it was always important to keep in mind all the sustainability aspects. So I was conducting interviews and scouting, doing research online. and always kind of seeing whether we can add something to our library or can we exclude something. So I was constantly working in the library to see how to make it better. So on the left side photo, you can see the small library we had. It was really, the physical size was really small. However, it was big enough that we had clients from small scale design studios to really big, like Nike and Reebok came to kind of have interviews with us as well, which was quite amazing. And on the right side, you have a little photo of the variety of things we had. So we had from fibers to the manufacturing processes to the already existing textiles and different parts of materials that one could use in design applications. So one of my tasks was also to participate in the consulting process, and I think somewhere halfway through my internship, my supervisor kind of trusted me enough, so I was doing the consultancies already on my own for a couple of companies, and this was really something huge for me, especially because I was still getting to know the whole system of the library and the materials, and also the communication part was for me really exciting, and how really to, so to say, to refer to the right companies and materials. And we also very often had people coming in, introducing their materials, and I had the opportunity to go to textile fairs, to conferences, to all kinds of events throughout the year. So here are a couple of photos of the tasks or how my daily life took place there. So I was also quite often sent to the garment district in the New York garment area to look for fabrics or to provide samples to the production team. And on the right side, you can see technology startup asking for material consultancy. So I was looking for different materials for them to apply in their gadget. It was some sort of like a clothing for dogs, and you can write SMS to the clothing part. So if the dog gets lost, the founder can either find the phone number or some sort of reference to where the dog is coming from. And at the end of the year, it kind of just happened to happen so, but in December, my internship was also about to finish in December. We were asked to compose a small exhibition in Miami. It was just at the same time when Miami Art Week was happening, and so I got the chance to fly there and introduce our library and what we do, and also to help with the setup of the exhibition. So it was kind of like a small reward for me as well, and I spent a week there eventually. Then another really exciting part of my work was participating or halfway organizing the textiles program we had during the summer. It was a 10-week-long program, which brought together different students from different universities from the US. And in different small teams, they were supposed to come up with some wearable technology product that was also then produced in our small production facilities. And on the photos, you can see the development phase, then the existing product, which was also produced and executed in our facilities, and then a close-up of a detail. And the textiles program ended in the middle of the August. It was really intense, and it kind of really fit very well with my capabilities as well. Because I had the experience of working with wearable electronics already. And this is a close-up of the project I was participating in. We developed a kind of a breathing aid or breathable bra that would help a wearer to guide through a kind of like a nervous phase, or to help us to breathe. So I think the whole experience with the BAFF was really empowering. I learned constantly, daily, and I guess I was also really curious to always ask constantly questions, either from my supervisor, with whom we actually became really good friends in the end. And I also even visited her brother in Montreal in the holidays, and I think we still have like very close professional relation. We share ideas and news, even though I'm here and she's in New York or Montreal. And I guess the whole opportunity that New York also offered, that we almost had every evening to really go out to a work-related event that wasn't really, didn't really feel like work-related, because usually it was fun and it was just really interesting to meet all these people, to get to know the whole field. And it kind of made me feel that it's actually not that big, that the world was getting smaller and smaller by the end of the year as I got to know people from the field. And so now I'm still continuing my career as a designer, as a researcher. I'm still continuing my research with silk. And I am a designer at Studio Aine. We are a small sustainability-focused studio in Estonia. We do material research and product design for different companies. And I'm also going to start the PhD, which is going to be a huge part of my professional life as well. And we're going to see whether the material I have developed is going to fit for wearable robots that are going to be working in the healthcare section. So under the large umbrella is going to be like robotic related topic. And I think that I largely covered the whole my slides and what I wanted to say, and thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you for your insightful presentation. Amazing experience, I would say. So I think questions will come later, and we will go through them after all three presentations. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and now move on. Our next presenter is so the screen is yours. So
So I will start to share my screen. Do you hear me well?
yes, yes.
Okay.
And we see your slides. So.
And you see everything,
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, hi everyone. My name is Cynthia, and today I will introduce you to kind of specific profession, which is conservator. Many of you might be more familiar with the term restorer. For those who are not familiar with the conservation in general, basically conservation are all the measures and actions aimed to like safeguarding tangible cultural heritage while ensuring kind of its accessibility for like present and future generations. And usually there are three types of conservation directions, which is like preventive conservation, remedial conservation, and restoration. So basically, I'm doing more of like preventive conservation, and I will tell you more about it later. And when it comes to conservation, you usually can choose like between different materials. So I chose paper as my material of specialization. But I will start with a little story how I got into conservation. So my path was quite messy since basically the first like deliberate interest of mine was medicine, and I started to study biology and chemistry as my main subject in a high school. And I really wanted to become a doctor, but I somehow always liked arts, but I was somehow intimidated by arts because I didn't felt like creative enough. And I was not able to draw, I was not able to paint. So I was like thinking, okay, like maybe I should put that aside. But while I was studying this like biology and chemistry, I realized that I really want to study arts. And back then, I was really a huge fan of Roman Polanski. So I decided that I would like to understand these movies and watch these movies in the original language. So I decided to study in the Academy of Culture of Latvia, and I started to study cross-cultural subjects between Latvia and Poland. I know it's kind of like a radical change from biology and chemistry to Polish philology, but it was kind of like, okay, I'm getting closer to arts and culture. So I was like, okay, let's try Polish language. And actually it was a good decision because this decision of study Polish language somehow brought me to Poland. Not somehow, but I was like, I started to study in Academy of Culture, and it was like possible to do this Erasmus program, and they sent me to Poland, and I was studying like Polish language there, but I had a lot of free time. So I decided that I should somehow do something with arts, and I started to volunteer at this museum of contemporary art in Poland, and they were very welcoming. And I know that some institutions, like it's a hustle to have interns in your institution because you actually have to work with them and you have to like give that knowledge to students. And they were very welcoming, and they allowed me to work there, and they were like giving different type of assignments, but my main assignment was working as an assistant of a conservator, and she was doing all the conservation preservation work for the museum's exhibitions, and I was helping her to do a lot of like minor preservation work, like doing some climate monitoring or cleaning some items or like preparing some artworks for like shipping and helping to pack them and helping to like helping to basically do all the stuff that conservator would do. But one of the most interesting work that actually brought this passion for conservation was this kind of painting, not painting, but this is photo canvas. And I remember we needed to kind of exhibit this, but it was like full with worms because this, like you can see these fragments of fur there, and there was like worms in those fur fragments. And we were like thinking, so what we should do. And then this knowledge of like biology and chemistry came in. And then I realized that conservation is very cool subject to study because it kind of brings together like knowledge of art, but also you need to know like some chemistry, you need to know some biology, you also have to have some interest in like physics. So basically it was like a perfect match for me, since I didn't felt creative enough, but I also like these kind of like weird medicine subjects like biology and chemistry. So after the Poland, I came back to Latvia, and I decided to change my study subject again. And of course, I finished the Academy of Culture, but then I started to study restoration, and that was like deliberate, like idea that, okay, now I will study restoration, and I choose paper, as I told before, as my main material of interest, because I knew that at that time the new building of National Library will open. And maybe for some of you, like, library doesn't seem like the most fun place to work when you are interested in arts. But in my case, I was really interested in like library materials, because National Library of Latvia was like holding 4 million items, and there are different materials like photography, prints, posters, books, different materials like leather and paper, and all the audiovisual materials. So it was very kind of like exciting place to be. But they were not looking for like a staff members, and I remember every time when they would release some kind of like job opportunity, I would just like send my CV, even if it was not like conservation job. I would be like, hey, by the way, I would like to work at the library, and I would like to work in your conservation department. I remember they like first like 2 times they said no, but like I guess like with the 3rd time they were already exhausted, so they told, okay, you can work with us. And yeah, since then, since 2014, I work at the National Library of Latvia, and I can say that it's very interesting job. I work as a preventive conservator and also kind of like collection preservation specialist, and I work mostly with like libraries exhibitions. I help with like preservation work at all the exhibitions that are hosted in the library. Also work with all the preservation work towards collection. I also do some minor conservation work, mostly for like flat materials like posters, prints, photography. Also cleaning for some like older items. You can see in this photo there is like some very damaged Bible. So we have very interesting materials to work with. And what was also interesting that the conservators' work is not only with the material, but this new center they developed, which is Collection Preservation Center, allowed us to, and also the new building allowed us to also work alongside with like Latvian conservators. So we started to host some workshops at the library where we were inviting like international professors from France, from Estonia, to teach our Latvian conservators some knowledge about conservation and bookbinding, and like all the preservation work towards library collections. So here you can also see what kind of exhibition library is hosting. It's not like library nowadays is not only a space where the people come to read books or just study, but it's also a kind of cultural space where we can host a lot of like interesting projects. And you can see here kind of diversity of these projects, which is like basically mostly towards books, but we also have had some kind of like artistic projects. So yeah, what I have worked in a library already for 6 years, but it is mostly with the very classical materials. And as I mentioned before, my interest from the beginning was like contemporary art and contemporary materials. And why so? Because contemporary art comparing to classical materials is very complex. It requires a lot of like ethical thinking, ethical decisions when you preserve such materials. For comparison, like if you preserve paper, it's easier to make decisions when you preserve it. But let's say when you preserve some contemporary artworks like conceptual art, which has no material, it is very hard to decide on these preservation methods. And so I was thinking how I would be able to kind of develop these skills and like get more knowledge in the preservation of contemporary art. So the main reason I applied for BAFF professional internship was to go to America and get this knowledge, because Americans are basically the like main researchers towards like contemporary art and its preservation, and they have these research institutes like Getty Institution who are developing the first like practices towards like preservation of contemporary art. And they also has like huge collections with contemporary art, so it was very compelling for me to go there. And I was very satisfied with my placement, which was Los Angeles Contemporary Exhibitions. And LACE is very influential place because it's like in the heart of the Hollywood. It has more than 40 years of history working with like contemporary art. It has hosted like more than 5,000 art shows. It has like hosted more than 3,000 artists, and who are really known like nowadays as like very very known artists like Mike Kelly or like Barbara Kruger. So I was able, when I was at LACE, I was able to participate different artistic projects. But I think what was the most important that since this was like a kind of small non-profit art gallery, everyone was doing everything. So I was able to like learn new skills, even though I went there with the idea that I would like to learn more about the preservation of contemporary art. I was able to, let's say, participate the organization of the like arts auction, or I was also helping to transport and pack the artworks, and basically working with everything, also like creating some exhibitions like this artwork you can see here. We were working alongside artists and building the artworks, so it was very useful experience. And I also, in comparison with the library, it was very interesting to see, because LACE had only like 5 staff members. It was interesting to see how such a small team can run such a big project, because in the library we are more than 300 people who are running these projects, and there we were only 5 people who had to do almost the same work, and that's why everyone was doing everything. And I had a lot of responsibilities while working there, but I think the most exciting was that, yeah, as I told, everyone was doing everything, and I learned a lot about like exhibition support. I had this chance to also go to other art institutions. I met a lot of like professionals working in the field, and this experience allowed me to gain not only like practical knowledge about the exhibition care, but I had a wonderful opportunity to explore the city of LA and also some cultural spaces. And now I gain a lot of like professional connections we are using with while collaborating with some conservation professionals. Now, when I'm back here, we are, as a library, also inviting, but since COVID, we didn't had a chance to invite, but we are inviting like professionals from America to come here and also host some workshops here. And yeah, and for conclusion, I would like to tell everyone that you should trust your gut feeling. If you feel that you may be not on the right path, you always have a time to change it. And even if you want to become a doctor, you can become a conservator at the end of the day. But also remember that you can kind of connect all these experiences, and every experience you will gain during your studies or during your volunteer work will be very useful probably in your career path, because I really realized that all that knowledge I gained like in my high school, then in Poland, then like working as a conservator, then working in a library, then working in like arts gallery, it really came together now, and it kind of like complements the interest of mine. And I like currently still working in the National Library of Latvia, but I also have like very huge interest into like getting into PhD studies and doing like research in contemporary art ethics. So basically all the experience I have gained till now have been very useful. Okay, thank you. And the questions I think will follow later.
I believe so. Yes. Thank you, Cynthia, for insights into mysterious conservation. But amazing job you're doing. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Thank you so much. And now I think we're ready for the third presentation. So I think Cynthia, if I may ask you to stop sharing the screen, and then Julia can start her. Yeah, now it's good. And Julia, so.
Hi guys, really nice to see you, and thank you for inviting me to share my story. I'll try to make it not too boring.
I don't believe it will be boring. So
okay.
do you have, from technical side, do you have slides to share with us?
Yes, I have some slides.
So we can, yeah.
So I'm trying to do that.
Yeah. Perfect, yeah, and maybe
my screen?
yeah, perfect. No, it's fine. Yeah. So the
So,
floor is yours.
Yeah, so how I met with BAFF. So I was studying my BA degree in fashion design, and I already had this traveling experience to other countries with my studies. So during my fashion design studies, I already traveled to Paris with Erasmus program, and I spent there 6 months, and then I went to Israel for 1 year for exchange program, and I spent there 1 year in Jerusalem in Bezalel Academy. So basically I spent half of my studies abroad. So I had this quite good portfolio to share, and because in Israel I was studying not only fashion, but also conceptual shoe design and jewelry and mechanical toys, and actually everything they had in the academy. So those are some of my work there from my final project of BA. And then how did I find out about BAFF? And actually it was the right place at the right moment, and my good friends, because one of my friends from Lithuania, she was working as a journalist in Washington, D.C. So she wrote an article about BAFF, and she sent it to me, and she said, I think it's a really nice opportunity for you, because I really wanted to go to New York for many years. I don't know why, it just was one of my dream. So I was really exciting, and I decided to try, and I had only 1 week till the deadline, but I somehow made it. And I got accepted. So lucky me. And then what was the most amazing thing about all this BAFF selection of people, when we first time met in Riga with all other guys, because we were 22 of us, I just thought that it's just amazing how these people from BAFF do their selection, because I felt we are so similar, you know, with the same interest, with the same experiences. We love to travel so much. I felt like I knew these people for many years, actually, and till now we keep in touch, and we're really good friends with many of them. So this is really important part of this journey with BAFF, because I got really nice friends, really good friends. So then I started to look for my internship, and the same friend Rita from Washington, D.C. wrote another article about one lady from Lithuania that was working in a rag and bone company as the technicians. So I never met this woman before, but I knew the company, and I knew their success story. Like they start from the team of 5 people, and by the time that I went to New York, they had already 300 people in their office in this amazing 3-floor loft building in Manhattan. So I had some interviews with them. I sent them my portfolio, and I got accepted. And I met with this lady from Lithuania, and we keep in touch till now. She's my good friend. She's not in Rag and Bone anymore, but we still keep in touch. So while I wrote here, "The Devil Wears Prada," I think many of you saw this movie. So this is how I felt like first I came to Rag and Bone from Lithuania, you know, with no with no practice in these kind of companies. Well, I took some internship with the local designers, but it was way far from what I saw there. So it's like funny little things, but for example, when they come to the office, they would change their flip-flops for high heels, or every day they would change their outfits, you know, and they would expect from you to do the same. And, you know, I'm coming from Lithuania with 1 luggage, and I have 2 pairs of my shoes, and, you know, that's it, nothing more. So it was really funny. And also I felt a little bit lost when first day in Rag and Bone, and they asked me to make them a coffee. You know, it was really shocking. And after 10 minutes, I asked for some conversation with my manager, and I tried to explain her that, you know, it's really far, Lithuania is really far from here, and I will have just 6 months with you. So I'd like to have this professional experience, not like making coffee. So this lady was really nice, and she explained me the ethics of work and internship in US, and she told me that it's really normal when you're coming like just from your studies to start from the beginning and, you know, to go through all this way. So this thing was really interesting and weird, but I think it makes sense in some ways. Otherwise, you know, from the other hand, I think my ambitions brought me to the situation that like in 3 days I had already some tasks and it was my purpose, and I started to sketch for the new collection for them. And I was working in a shoe and accessories department, so I was just sketching because, you know, it was really not so easy to get friends there in this office. People were so different, and, you know, I was just working and sketching a lot. And actually almost all of my sketches went to the production. So I think it's you know, it's really good I don't know. I think it was challenging for me, but also I got this huge experience with working with such big company and, you know, go through all the process of work. So also, as I was not really happy in my company from the beginning, I decided I have to find something else to do in New York. You know, I have this amazing opportunity, so I will find something else to do. And luckily I had some good friends from, they were working in arts and design, and some of them were from Lithuania, so it wasn't so difficult to find some other projects. So for the first 2 months I stayed with my friend from Lithuania, and she's a jeweler, and she lived in Brooklyn, in Bushwick, and this area had this Bushwick Open Studios each year. So we decided to take part in this Bushwick Open Studios, and that's how we met a lot of artists and designers by doing these open studios together. So actually I had the chance to present my collection there in New York, and then in the same Bushwick Open Studios I met one amazing photographer from New York, and she asked me to make a photo shoot of my collection. So these pictures are from my new apartment in Manhattan on the rooftop, and I think it was really interesting experience as well. Then I also took part in Contemporary Manhattan Dance Festival, where together with my friend jeweler we created an outfit and some jewelry for the play. And then also I found this Manhattan Theater Festival, and they invited me to create 5 outfits for the play. So I kept myself actually really busy. And all the rest time I would spend just, you know, exploring the city, and, you know, inspiration is all around when you are in New York, and also it gives a lot of ideas, and it's the best inspiration to all these jazz clubs and to see all these beautiful streets and so on. So of course I started to photograph a lot, and I met some really nice, colorful, crazy people. It's also a big inspiration for me. So those some stories from my journey. And buffers. Well, it's I would say it's the most important thing when you are somewhere and you are spending your year somewhere away from home. When you have these amazing people, you feel like you're at home, actually. So these people were my family, and we would spend every evening together, and especially with the guys who had their internship in New York. So I don't remember even one evening I would stay at home. We all the time were together. So I guess it's the most amazing thing from this BAFF experience for me. Buffers, and then my family visited me. So it's also really nice when your friends and family come and visit you when you are doing something new and exciting in your life. And then after 1 year, I came back to Lithuania, but I already heard these stories that it might be a little bit depressing to go back. And I literally didn't want to go back. I wasn't ready, actually. It was not enough for me. This year was not enough. So I decided I need to have a plan what I will do when I come back to Lithuania. So I decided the best I can do, I will go study again. So I started to look for some places where I can learn more about shoe design, because I was really into it. And you know, Lithuania used to be a really big industry for shoemaking and for shoe materials, but not anymore. And you know, I called to all possible institutions in Lithuania, and then I found one professional school, and I called them, and because I found some information about studying shoe design, and I called them and I said, well, you have studies in shoe design? And the lady said, well, we used to have, not anymore. For now we teach shoe making just in the prison. And I'm, well, what should I do? And the lady would say, well, do something bad. So this was an answer for me. But well, I'm not so crazy, so I decided I will go study MA in Vilnius Academy of Arts, but I didn't want to study fashion anymore. I really felt that I need something new in design field, so I went to study product design, my project was about shoemaking traditional craft together with new innovations. So, and during my studies, I also was working for some companies. So I was working for Julia Jana's company. At that time, she was one of the biggest company in Lithuania. So I made some collections, shoe collections, and also bag collections for her. I was traveling to Portugal to the factory, so it was also a really nice experience with her. Then I found another factory that is making shoes in Lithuania, in Šiauliai. They're the last factory in Lithuania, and you know, when you go there, you feel a little bit that time stopped. But for me, it was an opportunity to be around all these machines and all these techniques, you know, and around the people that doing this craft for 40 years. So then also I was doing a project with the Norwegian, the last factory in Norway that's still producing moccasins. So they invited me to recreate their models and to do new collection for them. And then also I started my work in Vilnius Design College as a tutor of conceptual fashion and conceptual shoe design. So I was working there for around 5 years. So this is collection for Julia Janus, and then my project with the Vilnius Art Academy. So this is a shoe that I created for my MA project, and the question was actually, is it a shoe? It was a, you can say, a sculpture. It was made by using 3D printed details that I constructed in 3D modeling program, but then I would collect everything using my traditional shoemaking skills and also some jewelry skills. And basically this shoe you can unfold to a flat surface and then fold to some other shapes. So you can create some different shapes, but in the end it's a shoe and you can wear that shoe. This is some technical sketches that I made, and this is how this shoe looks on the feet. So I think this is a really successful project for me, because after my studies, you know, I got this attention from other universities from different countries, and my shoe was presented in the biggest exhibitions, shoe exhibitions, and also it was presented in virtual shoe museum. So I think I spent my time in the right way when I came back from New York.
Julia, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think something went wrong with your microphone. Do you have a microphone? Ah.
Can you hear me now?
Now it's, yeah, you're back now.
Okay. So it's just some pictures from my project, and then also after my master degree studies, I took some more internships in London, and then continued working as a tutor in Vilnius Design College, and finally I got to my biggest happiness. My project I am doing now, it's called Between, and you know, it happened also in the right time and right place. I just met with my course mate from Vilnius Art Academy that we were studying fashion design together, and we met for coffee, and we ended up with the whole collection, with the first collection, you know, accidentally. So this is my partner in this crime, Mikla. We are doing this project together, and well, it's also a really interesting story. It's just how your dreams keep you like to have this feeling of adventure. And you know, I think BAFF experience helps a lot in this point, because you know, you are brave after all. You are not worried so much about some risks that you should take. So we made this first collection we call collections cases. So it's the first case of our project. We went to Milano Fashion Week present our collection, and we went there by car. And then, you know, we met, this is how our car looked after the trip, because, you know, it's changed a little bit because we met some designers that really wanted to help us, and they were amazed that 2 girls came from Lithuania by car just to present their collection in this fashion week. So they wanted to help us, and they asked us what kind of help we need. So we said, okay, we need fabrics. Okay, so they gave us some contacts where we can find fabrics. We went to Bologna, and this is how our car looked after this trip, you know. And then also they said, well, you are doing conceptual fashion actually, so this place is not the right one for you. You should go to Paris and to meet these fashion agents. So okay, we went to Paris from Bologna, and we took this amazing trip, like, you know, from Vilnius to Milano, from Milano to Bologna, from Bologna to Paris, and then back to Lithuania with all these contacts. That's how it started actually. And for now, we have already 5 collections. We're working for 3 years. We have 5 collections, 5 cases. And each collection we presented in Paris Fashion Week in the conceptual showrooms. For now, we have 12 shops in the world that selling our collections. So it's a couple of them in America, Boston, Philadelphia, and then Russia. The main market for us is Japan. We somehow have this good connection with Japanese agents and designers and the market. So, and so on, Georgia and Cyprus and other countries. So this is some pictures from our projects and some pictures from Fashion Week. Yeah, so we still create. I'm still in my studio that I can show you. So here you can see some objects and some, you know, yeah. And if you are interested, you are welcome to visit our website and give me some feedbacks and, you know, ask me questions. Yeah, I think this is it. Thank you.
That's truly amazing, and thank you for so interesting, inspiring story. It's really wasn't boring at all.
Thank you so much. I hope so.
Huge experience. Okay, and I think it's time for questions, and I would like to put on your cameras, if you don't mind, so that we can see your faces and we see people whom we are talking to. But before we start with the questions from audience, I also have a question to Julia. So maybe you can quickly share, since fashion design became a very highly competitive field today, it is. And what are the other skills besides university degree you would recommend to have, or people need to have to become a successful fashion designer? Is there anything in addition you can learn, or?
Yes, I would recommend just to take all the opportunities that comes to you, you know, like not to be afraid to take any risks, and, you know, to follow your passion. It's the most important thing, I think, because, you know, I didn't feel really strong when I came to New York, but after all this experience in Rag and Bone and all this, you know, relationships even with the office people, and after when they took all my sketches to the production, then I started to feel more strong in my field, more strong in design. So if I wouldn't try it, I would never know that I can do more. So like every time I'm trying to challenge myself, and even, you know, to speak in front of the audience like I'm doing now, it's so challenging for me. You know, for my master degree, I couldn't do so, and my professor was going crazy, and I didn't do that. You know, I just recorded my speech, and I just was standing, and that's how strong it was. But when you doing your steps, you just, you know, go forward, and yeah. So just don't.
I can say you are doing great.
Yeah.
You're presenting great. Thank
Thank
you. Yeah, yeah. Good advice. Thank you.
And also different disciplines, you know, like when you are doing fashion, fashion is not really enough for doing fashion. So you have be a manager, you have be a creative director, you should be a seller, you should be a stylist, you should, you know, care all these things like a big fabrics, and, you know, you should know where to go and so on, because you don't have team from the beginning, so you would do that yourself.
All these small details. Okay. We are ready to go through the questions from audience, and feel free to type in your questions now as well, so we will go through them. And the first question from Mother Amara, and question goes to Mari. In what way and how can you continue to build on the network that you created during the BAFF internship in your current and future activities? As networking and international cooperation is also very valuable. And thank you truly for truly inspiring experience exchange.
Yeah, so I think I had different types of networking experience in the States. One was the professional one that actually took place almost it took place every day, but also almost every evening, as the evening events or conferences were really frequent. And I guess I'm still communicating with those people in professional level whenever I am kind of in need of any professional information. And the other type of network is, of course, the BAFF network. So, and we are still good friends with our BAFF year. I guess it will just go on quite naturally. It will evolve together with my professional evolution as well. Or I think the group of friends we had, we will, you know, carry on as most of group of friends will carry on. But I really, as also Julia mentioned before, I guess also I was quite timid before going to the States, but something kind of happened there. I guess it's quite impossible not to be not to be touched by this magical opening for Eastern European people. I mean, networking really is a big part of my professional life now as well. And I'm also tutoring and lecturing in different universities in Estonia. And I can really say it has kind of helped me so much. Yeah, I don't know if I answered the question, but
The next question is for Cynthia.
Yeah, I actually already read it. Yeah.
You read it, so I will go quickly through so that everybody can understand what we are talking about, but maybe we'll skip some parts. So what is your opinion on collaboration and participation in worldwide arts arena? In other words, what are the differences and similarities in the United States versus Latvia, Baltics, Poland? Then I will.
Yeah, so that is very kind of philosophical question, and also it's of course I will answer like very like not objectively, but it's like my experience was different with art in America and Poland and Latvia, because like LACE, Los Angeles Contemporary Exhibitions, was like very kind of social justice arts gallery, and it was very towards like political issues, like what are happening in America, and all the exhibitions and artists they would invite kind of spoke about these issues. And when I was working in Poland, that was also kind of very political art, because like during that time they had exhibitions like with like Polish avant-garde group who were like working during Soviet times. So basically those two experiences were kind of like art is kind of like social movement towards like kind of political issues. In Latvia, most of the projects I have worked with are basically art where like art is like aesthetic, and where artists are talking more about kind of like aesthetics and their kind of personal views related to the world. So that was kind of experience, I guess. Like, yeah, the biggest experience between Latvia and America was that like art there, especially in that gallery, was very towards social justice, which was very fun actually. And it kind of also gave me a bigger understanding about like issues like artists are like facing, or like in general like society there. So it was very interesting.
I guess Cynthia can continue also with the next question, which goes to all presenters. I will quickly read it. So through this experience that you have gained, I believe that you can become active key players in your industry's ecosystem, be mentors and inspire other followers through various activities organized to support and further develop the industries on the national and international level. Do you see yourself as a mentor for others? What would you like to pass on to others?
I really like to talk about this experience, and I really like now also currently I reading some lectures, and I also working alongside like with the students. So I really like to talk about like, as Julia also mentioned, like you should like take all the opportunities you can get, and also try and go somewhere and not be scared of losing time, or like losing some like maybe not like also try different like fields, and like yeah, basically I would advise to use these opportunities and try and not be scared. And yeah, but also like when it comes to like preservation of contemporary art, for sure, like we don't have developed practices in this field in Latvia. So like my experience allows me to talk about these issues of preserving this art, and it also gives me like this kind of like knowledge, so I can share this with like students of restoration. Yeah.
Julia, do you see yourself as a mentor? Please unmute yourself. Yeah, we can't hear you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's really interesting question, because before I never would think about that, but somehow it just comes to me, you know, like I'm all the time with the students, and also some projects would invite me to be a mentor, like one project from American Embassy invited me to be a mentor. And then now I'm working also as a teacher in international school. I'm teaching design. So, you know, these kids all the time asking questions, and I'm like happy to share. So it somehow comes, you know, I guess when you have bigger experience, you have this desire to share. I think it's such a normal and organic thing that just comes to you. So for me, it's not even a question. It's just, you know, part of the process. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And Mari, I know you are giving lectures as well, right?
Yes. So I think it's quite the same for me as well. It's quite natural when you're so excited about what you just have experienced. You really want to share the experience, and then also people are interested in hearing about the experience. Yeah, I teach. I also taught before I went to New York, so I think I just gathered some extra experience from there as well.
The next question is, I guess, to to us, to BAFF staff members. So where we can find your record after the presentation. So the recorded file will be uploaded on our YouTube channel approximately a week after today, so during the next week basically, and I think it will be shared as well on our social media. At least the link will be shared, so just follow our Facebook page and you will find it. The next question also goes to everyone, so all presenters. What is the one thing you wish you had known before participating in these exchanges? What is something nobody told you but you wish they had? So who is willing to start? Yulia, do you have some things in mind?
Funny things come to my mind, you know. If I knew that to find a flat in New York, it's so difficult, you know, I would be prepared from a while ago, because you know, my first experience with finding a flat was really funny. I was living in the ex wardrobe actually, with the two girls, Americans, and they used to have this wardrobe, and they decided they will make a room for rent. So I was lucky to get it for $500. So this is actually a part that you have to be prepared. And as I know now, it's getting, you know, the price is getting higher. So you should do your research from before. But also I'd like to say that probably if I knew something more about the ethics of the work in these kind of companies, I also would prepare myself to behave, you know. If I were a bit wiser at that time, maybe I would behave, maybe, I don't know, because, you know, you can't go away from yourself too far, but maybe I would behave in a bit different way. And, you know, if you're planning to organize your future, you should see a little bit further, not just 6 months. So.
I think it comes with maturity as well. It's just,
yeah, well, yeah,
it's part of your experience, so
exactly.
good to know. Yeah. Mari, do you have something you wish?
Well, actually, I was thinking about it. I actually like that I wasn't really prepared. I even hadn't been to New York before, or to the States by that matter. And I kind of really liked the surprises. I was surprised constantly every day. And I think the beauty of it is to relax in it, just to really take everything that's offered, or kind of go with the flow, as they say. Because really, when you trust the world around you, it really offers you much. So I think good amount of preparedness is good, but also just being open-minded about everything is also really good.
True. Cynthia, what about you?
I actually felt like I'm prepared because I have lived abroad before, but one thing you cannot get prepared, especially if you're going to LA, is like traffic. That was like that was crazy. Like it was like something you cannot just be prepared. So that was, yeah, one of the things that have like stick with me, how long it took to get to the places in Los Angeles. But other than that, it was, yeah, as Mary also told, it was actually fun to not be fully prepared, maybe.
If I can just add that we actually felt very safe because of our organizers, you know, it was really helpful. If you had questions, you always could contact some person and they would immediately help you. So that's why we can't say actually what was missing, because we felt safe, and also all these people around you, you don't feel alone, so you don't have any problems, like not financial issues, not like organization issues. That's why it's so easy. Yeah.
I also want to add that yeah, like we got already very good tips, and I remember also someone gave me a tip that to be patient, like also with this internship. And I remember like the first weeks I also was like so confused, so what is happening? I'm not doing any conservation work, like I'm doing different assignments. But yeah, with the time it got better and better, and it was like very know that before that someone already told you like, okay, maybe at first it will not be as you imagine it to be, so give it some time. And it was very useful tip. So yeah.
Okay, and next question is for Julia. What would be your most important or one of the most important advices to students who aspire to do something with fashion design?
Well, I remember when I went to some internship to some local designers in Lithuania, and also when I started my projects, I want to have some advices from these people that were already in business for many years. Everyone would say to me, if you can't do that, don't do that, you know? And I'm thinking I would never advise the same, you know, because if you're already doing that, if you're interested in that, that means maybe, you know, maybe it's your passion. On the way, you would meet some other things that would interest you. So you never know where this first step would lead you. So I would just advise to try more things if you are in fashion. So go deeper to the subjects. For example, I would try something, and I tried something in textile or in some other disciplines or in photography. Just, you know, everything helps in the end. Even if you are just fashion designer and you have in your studio, everything would help you. So yeah, this would be my advice.
And what is your advice for students who are creating portfolios? The next question from audience.
It depends what for, you know, why you creating your portfolio. Is it just for, you know, showing your experience in the field, or looking for the job? So if it's your personal portfolio, it should be, I guess, really personal and really from your heart, in order to the audience to understand what is special and about you and what the specifics about your work. But if you're doing portfolio for the company, then you would I would recommend to study more the company itself, you know, what the interest of the company. Maybe, you know, if you can do clothes, you can do styling, and you can do shoes, and you can do jewelry. They don't need all this information, so just concentrate on some particular tasks they are expecting from you. And also, it's really important to have high quality pictures. Yeah, this is a really important part.
Okay, thank you for advice. There are some nice thank you words as well. And the next question is for Marie. Wearable technologies and the Baltics. How is the field developing here? Any interesting companies to keep an eye on?
Actually, I don't really know a good answer to that. I was just going it through before as well, because I have been mostly working at the moment with biomaterials, and it's a slightly different field. I think I have distanced myself from the wearable technologies. I might go back to the wearable technologies next year, I think, and Eva, I will answer you then. But yes, it's interesting. We are kind of known for our IT solutions, but the whole world of wearable technology is a bit complicated due to different regulations. It's slightly easier in the States to develop a kind of wearable device and also get approved fast and not so expensively, but it's a bit more difficult in Europe. And it's also quite expensive to hold the R&D and after kind of, to see if it's safe enough. So, yeah.
Okay, and the next question is also to Marie. Is the industry ready in the Baltics for more sustainable approach in production? What are the biggest challenges to get bigger companies to adapt to these practices?
I think it's really complicated. I'm not sure whether we even have a wearable technologies industry. Alas, the sustainable practices to be adapted, I think adapting sustainable practices is difficult in every field. It's actually really difficult to be sustainable, honestly, not just to do one step of it. But I think the demand asks the companies to be more sustainable, which why I think the companies need to look towards the shift as well. But I think it's quite complicated, and the biggest problem in wearable technologies and sustainability, I think, is technology. As long as it's made from like heavy metals and it is chunky and it's rigid. I think until then we can't really see how it can be separated easily and so on. So actually what I'm looking forward to is green electronics in altogether, and that could be a more sustainable solution, but it's really, I think, in a research and development phase at the moment.
Okay, and so we have our last question to all participants, I guess to all presenters. So it looks like it's about BAFF scholarship and competition. Is it a big competition? And was it hard to get this opportunity, to get this scholarship? So in few words, how can you tell it? Was it hard or challenging? Marie, how do you think?
Well, I did prepare for my application interview a lot. I remember I was super nervous. But I think it just gave an opportunity to actually think through what I want, and like preparing for the application, I really focused myself, and it made me even want more, and it made me even know more what I want. So it was a really good chance to align my ideas and my focus my mind as well.
Cynthia, what about you?
So since my field was very specific, I had to really kind of explain why it is important and what actually is like conservation and like why I need this opportunity. But I remember before BAFF, I also tried to apply to some grant programs and I were not accepted. And I would advise everyone who even don't get accepted to try more and like just not to give up and maybe, yeah, just like try next year or even if you don't get accepted. But also, yeah, what is very nice that BAFF also accepts like these art proposals and cultural proposals. So I think everyone can try if you have like great idea and you know how it will kind of help your future goals and yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Julia, do you remember your interview?
Yes, I remember it very well. I think I was one from the design field actually. So I wasn't sure about if BAFF interested to have some designers in the program. I remember I was a bit nervous, but I just wanted to go so much that I had no other opportunities for myself, you know. I just was sure that this is something comes for me. So I was prepared and I had my portfolio, and I remember this amazing interview with all these beautiful ladies. So I don't know, maybe I don't remember so well, but the feeling is it wasn't so hard.
So it's doable.
Yes.
Thank you so much. You can read many nice words in the chat for all the presenters, but since we are out of time, so I will wrap up today's session. Thank you so much for your presentations, for your inspiring stories. Thank you all who listened and asked so many interesting questions today. We hope you enjoyed it. So it was last session happening this year, and we will continue with BAFF Talk sessions after New Year. And the next session will take place on January 21st, and the topic will be business and startup environment. So hope to see you all there. Stay healthy, stay safe, and enjoy the holidays. And if you have any questions in mind for presenters, you can really get in touch with us and ask your questions. And as I already mentioned, the recording will be available publicly on our social media. So thank you so much and have a nice evening. Bye-bye.